The frequency illusion, also known as the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon, is when you purchase a new vehicle and then suddenly see it everywhere. This is due to a new attentional awakening to an object that now holds value to you. But what if I told you it seems to be intentionally coded into Grand Theft Auto games, and I've weirdly not seen many videos about it, so I decided to put the theory to the test. Let's see what happens. So how did I find this? I've played every console Grand Theft Auto game from 3 onwards, and have noticed this phenomenon in all of them except GTA 5 really. But the title I noticed it in for the first time was actually Grand Theft Auto 4. And it also seemed to be the most prevalent in this game for whatever reason, at least to me, which is why I'll mostly be focusing on this title for the video. But anyways, I'm pretty much always looking for fast cars to drive when I play GTA, as I'm sure we all do. And the reason this phenomenon became so apparent to me in this title was due to the lack of sports cars driving around. I often felt I'd be searching for ages and ages, always keeping my eyes peeled during missions, but very rarely finding a sports car. But then when I'd finally find one, suddenly I'd see them everywhere driving around. Tons of them. It always left me feeling like, really? At first I thought it was just coincidence, but then it kept happening, until I eventually realized it was happening every single time. That's what kind of tipped me off to thinking that this was intentional, so I decided to test this out a little bit. So as you can see in the footage, I'm driving around right now looking for a Turismo, which is the car I'm going to retrieve in a minute for this test. And I'm also mainly going to be using Star Junction for this test because it's a pretty easy area to find and circle around without getting lost, so this way my test can be done in approximately the same area each time. But yeah, looking around, there is not a single Turismo. So I went to grab one from that house that always has one parked by it on Hove Beach and returned to Star Junction. And look at this, they're everywhere. I drove around for quite a while to make sure it wasn't a coincidence, and yeah, there's no way this is coincidental. Look at this. So this sparked another question then. Is it just sports cars? Because that's honestly the only vehicle type I really noticed it on. However, that's the only vehicles I'd really ever searched for that heavily. So I want to see if this is for all vehicles. I spotted a PMP 600 a little out of the area and decided to grab it and circle back and see if I got the same result. And suddenly they were everywhere too. But I did find this car in relevantly the same area. I hadn't strayed too far, so let's go a bit more extreme. I wanted to try this with something that I didn't recall seeing in Star Junction, a truck. So I went and got a contender and I went on the hunt, and what do you know, they're also everywhere. So I figured let's keep this going. I want to grab an SUV, so I found a Rebla and went at it again with the same result. But I noticed something else weird. I decided to try a dirty beat up car. I found a rusty Emperor and the outcome was a little different. There seems to be secondary spawns to these vehicles, and for some reason they were most prevalent to me during my test with the dirty Emperor. When trying to look for my twins, I mostly found what I believe are Vigueros. I probably pronounced that wrong, sorry. But I did also kind of notice during my test with the Turismo that I was seeing a lot of what I think were Sultans, the 4-door cars that are sometimes convertible. I think that's what they're called. Sorry, I'm bad with cars. You're lucky I got this far into the video without messing the names all up. And same for the other vehicles. There were always others that seemed to spawn with them as almost like a pair. So there's definitely something in the coding for vehicle spawning, but what is the reason?
What was the reason?
I had a reason.
What was the reason?
I had a reason.
What was the reason?
I just explained the reason.
What was the reason?
I did research this to make sure I wasn't copying anyone else's video or anything, and while I didn't find any videos on YouTube about this directly and not just about like the phenomenon as a whole that mentioned this, I did see a few forums talking about this. One person on Reddit mentioned it. They said being due to the software limitations in GTA 3 and Vice City, it would spawn vehicles that you'd stolen recently. I'm not sure if there's an exact source for this info as I've yet to find it, however that would make sense, but why GTA 4? Was the Xbox 360 and PS3 limiting for all they wanted to do, so they had to re-implement this, or do they do it for fun? I guess there's no real way to know the answer to this unless Rockstar addresses it themselves, but knowing the amount of Easter eggs and things they put in their games, I wouldn't be surprised if they did this because of the phenomenon, or possibly even just to mess with the player a bit. I definitely used to have a little chuckle every time I'd finally find a sports car after searching for ages and ages just to end up seeing it everywhere after I finally got one. So who knows? What do you guys think? Have you noticed this too, or did I point out something you'll never be able to unsee now? And why do you think they coded it this way? Is it still due to hardware limitations, or is it just something fun that they do? Or who knows, maybe they have talked about this and I'm just bad at research. If anyone watching this knows something, please feel free to comment it below for me and anyone else interested to check it out. And of course, above all else, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. If you want to support my channel, head on over to my Patreon. It's super cheap and helps me a lot, but even just sharing this video with your friends would be a huge help. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.